Hello, everyone. This is Adrienne with Yoga for Migraine. And today I am so happy to introduce you to one of my most committed, open-minded, inspiring clients, Patricia Moritz. She's been practicing Yoga for Migraine with me for nearly a year, has participated in almost every one of my yoga programs, including Beyond Migraine. And I'm excited for her to share her story of how yoga and Beyond Migraine has really helped move her in such a better place than she was a year ago and really improved her quality of life. Beyond Migraine is accepting applications now, so feel free to reach out with a DM if you want more info. Patricia's commitment to her daily yoga practice, her curiosity to ask questions, and her openness to receive help and try new things have really resulted in a huge increase in her quality of life and decrease in pain since she started Yoga for Migraine. Patricia is a graphic designer based in Pasadena, California. She lives with chronic migraine and Hemicrania Continua, which are two headache disorders. But she also deals with a lot more than that. She has multiple other pain conditions, which she'll tell you about, that stemmed from a debilitating car accident over 40 years ago that resulted in a traumatic brain injury, led to surgeries that then resulted in a spinal cord injury. She's really been through a lot, and she's persevered. Her strength and determination to carry on despite numerous hospitalizations, not sure if she'll be able to walk. She's done all this, and her story is really inspirational, and I'm excited to have you, Patricia. Thank you for being here.
Hi, Adrienne. Thank you.
So just thinking back to where you were a year ago before you started Yoga for Migraine, how has your life changed since then? How have you, maybe the way you look at your life or the things that you do now, is anything different than a year ago?
Well, my daily practice, or I'd have to say nearly daily, it's pretty much daily. But a year ago, I had switched neurologists and went on the Miles for Migraine event where I met you.
Mm-hmm.
And at that time, I had to stop. That neurologist had me stop everything, kind of take a brain rest. And I had been doing Pilates, but I hadn't been doing much else. I had and then she put the kibosh on that. She said, I want you to stop everything. Mm-hmm. And so what's different is that activity came back into my life, which made me very happy, because I had been a very active person before, but everything was triggering me. So that's been that, a great addition back into no matter what else I do.
So you've been
able
to be more physically active. And you mentioned, at one of our classes, like, last summer you felt like you had to be indoors with the blinds closed, just with the summer heat. And this summer was a little bit different. Do you want to share what you mentioned?
Yes. I mean, this summer I could actually go outdoors. I mean, I could actually go to the market and shop in the middle of the day. Before, I couldn't even leave my car or leave the house after a certain time. I'd look at, check the temperature. If it was over 72 degrees, I wouldn't go out. It's like 93 here today, before noon. So that's just a no-go. I won't be, I can't walk my dog over 72 degrees, it's pretty restricted, but I had a little more leeway this summer, and at least I could step out. Whereas last summer, there was absolutely no way. There was just no room. I might be able to go to 75 degrees this summer.
And what do you think made that difference? Do you feel like just your ability to, cope with the pain is different? Or do you feel like you're less easily triggered? Do you feel like just you would know what to do if you had a migraine attack? What's different now?
I think one big thing is that, first of all, from my spinal cord injury, I have a really oversensitive central nervous system.
Mhm.
And yoga for migraine has been really great to keep my nervous system in a calmer state.
Mhm.
And for me, I found that so valuable, which is why I kind of crave it daily to keep myself in this zone.
Mhm.
And I think that I attribute a lot to that, keeping me at this kind of status quo level of, a much calmer level overall. I noticed that my mood is calmer, everything is calmer, where I was a bit, more higher strung and just, edgier, and, just
Sure.
everything seems kind of, the temperature of everything
Mm.
has lowered, and
Yes.
which is so welcome.
Yes, that's huge. And how has that affected your sleep? I know that your sleep's really changed since a year ago as well.
My sleep is so improved. Uh, Thank you, Yoga Nidra.
Yes. And for those who don't know, Yoga Nidra is a practice we do in every Yoga for Migraine class that is a lying down meditation that leads you into this in-between state of between sleep and wakefulness, and definitely a favorite of many of my students.
Well, the in-between part too, I have been there, but I suspended in there, and I've also often just go directly to the sleep part.
Yeah.
But that is how I go to sleep every night, whether I do it during the day. Sometimes I take a break from my work and I'll do a yoga nidra
Mhm.
practice. But I always, every single night, I can assure you, I do that to go to sleep. That is my
And you feel
meditation
like you're able to
practice.
go to sleep more quickly and just get better quality of sleep now.
Oh yes. No, that just sends me off to sleep. And I was a person who, because of my head injury for years, I mean, I went through sleep studies, I had chronic insomnia.
Mm.
Sleep was the scourge of my existence.
Mhm.
It was probably contributing to my for sure contributing to my migraines
Mhm.
for a very long time. And that was something a year ago. The neurologist said, you've got to get your sleep regulated. As an artist, designer, I would work crazy hours. I didn't pay any attention to a schedule. And I, was really impressed on me. You got to go to sleep at the same time, go to wake up at the same time. And so that all converged with me meeting you and doing your program. And so I latched on to Yoga Nidra and decided what time I'd go to sleep at night and wake up, and started using that practice, and it just worked for me. And gradually, it just kind of locked in, and
You kind of have that habit now.
the more I did it, the more it just kind of, I think within probably at least a week or two, it was a pattern, and it
That's
just
great.
stuck.
Well, within Beyond Migraine, we do work a lot on helping folks create those healthy habits and routines, and do it in a way that's very manageable, that will stick in the long term. So tell me about some of those new routines that you started during Beyond Migraine that have really made a difference in your quality of life.
Well, I had practiced yoga starting back in the 70s, actually. And, but from the time off and on over the years before my spinal cord injury, I would practice, but I felt like I often would hurt myself. So after my spinal cord injury, I was worried that, oh no, I can't do that, I'm going to hurt myself. So I had this kind of mental block that I was
Sure, fear of, yeah.
fear.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's been very liberating that I could do the practice with you and find that not only could I do it, but it was really important that I do it. And I was having this discussion with my physical therapist, how important it is for me to do those neck stretches, not only for my headaches, but for the other stuff that's going on with me. But that is a daily thing I do. In fact, many times a day, I do those various neck stretches that you have given through your different videos, different classes. And those have been extremely valuable to me. I'm in the habit of doing that all the time now.
Yeah. So you have like your daily, solid maybe 30-minute practice that you're doing, whether it's yoga nidra or, the asana, the postures, and then you're taking those movement breaks throughout the day to help release tension. And
yes, I do a 20 to 30-minute restorative class most every day. And then every day I do the yoga nidra. That's when I'm going to bed. I have my laptop next to the bed, cue up the yoga nidra.
What I've always found, so inspiring about you is that, you've had so many, really traumatic experiences during your life with this car accident, with hospitalizations. You have been through a lot, and you haven't given up. And I really want to share that message of hope for, anyone else with chronic pain. That what I think is so, what's made Patricia really thrive where she is with pain, right? She still has pain, but she still has her job that she loves. She's still doing a yoga practice, is that she hasn't given up. She would come to class, and, if something didn't quite feel right in her body, or she, felt a little bit uncomfortable, she would ask after class, how can I make this more comfortable? She didn't, just say, oh, this isn't for me, this is too hard. She asked questions, and that, perseverance to ask for help, make the practice her own, I think is a big part of why she's, doing so well at this point. So I want to commend you, Patricia, because not everyone's like that. A lot of people kind of drop out when things don't exactly, line up and are super easy for them. And you've felt, that commitment to your self-care has really paid off.
Thanks, Adrienne. Well, I have, and I do deal with multiple pain syndromes, and for different reasons. And I've learned through experience with it that I'm in charge of it, and only I can affect it, really. I mean, there's only so much medication you can throw at things, and it's not a cure-all. They don't eliminate everything. I don't tolerate pain medication per se. So most of what I'm dealing with, I can't take the typical pain medications for. So I've always turned to alternative methods. But the yoga has just truly been a lifesaver for me, because it's something immediate, something I can. Recently, I think I mentioned to you, I felt a migraine coming up when I was out driving. That's often a trigger for me, and we drive so much in LA. And I was driving, and I felt that, good old trigeminal nerve into my eye, and I thought, oh boy. And I just got home, and I laid down, and I just started doing a class, and just felt everything start to lower, as I say, lower the temperature.
Yeah, and that's huge when we can get to that point where, the yoga itself can actually relieve the migraine attack on its own without medication. And that's a huge win when that happens. And not to say that none of us are saying that you don't also need to have your doctors and your rescue medications, and all of those are part of the picture. But I think what you're kind of talking about is that yoga has helped you feel like you have more control, that you have your own tools, there's something you can do, that you're not just at the mercy of your pain. You want to talk about that?
Yeah, and I just want to mention, I am on medication for
sure.
my chronic migraines. I'm on 2 medications. So that I need that prophylactic support
Mhm.
that I
Absolutely.
take daily. And this is in addition, the
Yes.
yoga is in addition, and this is a modality that I'm able to control and have at my disposal to use anytime. And that's the beauty of it too. Can you repeat that question?
Yeah, just, if you can talk about how yoga has helped you feel like you have some control over your pain, that you are not, just kind of like you're at the mercy of the migraine attack, and it's just kind of, you take a med or lie down and there's not much you can do. Do you feel like now you have more tools so that you're not feeling so helpless when you have pain?
Well, it is definitely another tool in the toolbox. Yes, because I am able, like that was a perfect example, the driving, where I was able to come in and I just knew I just need to go. I just need to get on my mat. I need to lay down. I think I wanted to get into the reclining cobbler's pose and just be there, because I knew that that was the right position for me. I needed to do some neck stretches. I just needed to relieve the tension that I could feel building. I just knew where I was at, because it's been going on for so long. And now with a year of doing this work with you, I know what works. I know what relieves the tension, and it's the tension that increases the migraine pain. And you can be in control of it. You're not at the mercy of it. You do have agency over this problem. It isn't completely something out of your control.
And I think the yoga, the first step is really to build that body awareness, that you could feel, when you're driving, something's going on, you're feeling, tense. And then you make that choice, to go and take care of yourself rather than just push through and, exacerbating your pain. So it gives you more of those choices, to, like you said, lower the temperature, turn down the volume. There is pain, but we do have that control to turn it up and down. And that's one of the biggest things I love to teach people with the yoga practice. Shifting gears just a little bit, it sounds like you've been able to use yoga to, calm your nervous system. Let's just take your migraine attacks as an example. Have they changed over the year? Has the frequency or intensity changed, or your ability to recover when you do have one?
Yes. Now, what exactly is to attribute for that? I can't say it's strictly the yoga, because as mentioned, I have a new neurologist, so she put me on a new protocol. I'm on a new in March, I started a new medication. She adjusted my previous medication. So some changes have been made in the last year. I also worked on my sleep a lot when I started working with you. So a lot of changes took place, but they all worked together, and I became much more involved. This is really important, I think, that I didn't just rely on the doctors handing me a medication and saying, take this, and relied on that to be the fix. And that was something that I was reminded of, because I have to kind of step back a little bit and mention that since my spinal cord injury, I've been on this journey, this medical journey that was so intense, so many doctors involved, and so many medications and surgeries and stuff, that I forgot that I can step in and be in control of some things. And it was the same with my migraine. I was just thinking, give me something, give me something to fix this. I can't stand this pain. And then when I switched doctors and I met you through that event, here was something new for me. And through that, I was reminded basically reminded of who I was, this curious being who
Yeah.
liked to find things to help myself, and something a practice that I enjoy,
Mhm.
and something that really made a difference for me. So I think it's a combination of things, but the fact that I have something that I've proven to myself that I can go to on a daily basis, because I do Hemicrania Continua, as the name would suggest, is constant and on half my head, and it fluctuates up and down all day long. It's in a much better place right now, but in a lower level. But definitely when it's on the rise, I stop everything and I will go. And that's when I will take time to do a class, and sometimes it's not a whole class. It might just be a couple of postures or.
Right. But those little breaks really add up.
And what you talk a lot about, taking those breaks. And this is something I didn't do for years, because I felt so worried after my spinal cord injury when I finally got back to working, because I had years of not being able to work, that I had so much to make up for, so much time to catch up. But I just pushed and pushed and pushed myself. And I didn't take time to rest. So then there was that buildup of tension.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, you've tried to come at this from every angle with the help of, medical professionals, with yoga, and all of those contribute. I think with migraine, there's never just one thing that is going to make it better. It's like that whole person approach of, help from your doctor, help from yoga, help with just how you see it. And like you said, that shift of just, no longer always pushing through the pain, because that's something that will exacerbate the pain in the long run.
Exactly.
And then on the other end, if you're looking at this kind of from that fight or flight viewpoint, that's kind of like your fight. You're going to just keep pushing through. That's typically exacerbates the pain. On the other end of the spectrum, many people just totally resign themselves and avoid everything, so that they're no longer going out. They're no longer even trying to see friends. They're no longer working. And that avoidance actually exacerbates pain in the long run too, because you become more sensitive over time. And so it sounds like you've kind of come to a place where there's, a little bit more balance, that you're in tune with yourself, in tune with your body. And when you notice, that pain increasing, like, you can pull back and do something for yourself that is going to help you in the long run.
Exactly.
Good. So maybe we'll wrap up with just a couple more questions. How has your, mood or, just happiness changed in this year of doing yoga? Kind of a more personal question.
I definitely, I think, as I've gotten further out, again, that injury, the spinal cord injury, was such a devastating injury that it's been a journey since then, through so many surgeries and so much recovery. And so every year I get out from that is a happier year.
Yes.
And I am in a much better place, and I'm definitely feeling lighter and happier, that I feel liberated, that I do have more, more tools to deal with the conditions, because I do have multiple disorders and conditions that relate to the SCI that I have to manage. For me, it's all about pain management. So, because on any given day, different body parts are popping off, doing, shouting
Yeah.
and wanting relief of some sort, so I have to pay attention.
Yeah.
And
But it sounds like you have, I think maybe you've come to a place where you can have pain, but you can also have a good life, that it's one doesn't necessarily prevent the other.
I have a great life. I have a great life. Before the pandemic, I was back to traveling. I've traveled all over the world, and this is a big part of my life before the injury. And then I resumed since. In fact, I had been in Cambodia doing volunteer work for an NGO right before the pandemic. I came back right as it started. I was working with children, teaching art. And I have a grown son now, but who I adore, and full life with him, and friends, and very active in my work, which I've rebuilt after being away for many years, which is harder as you get older to do that.
And it's something that you love too,
but I love it. And it was very important to me to regain that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's different than it was, but it's still good. And I'm happy. I'm just grateful. I'm so grateful that I'm walking.
Yeah.
That I can move my body. It doesn't move the same as it did before. And I've had to have some things replaced and removed, and but it's working. So I'm grateful.
Yeah.
I'm grateful. I think you have to move in gratitude and for what you have. And I am, and there has to be acceptance. I think that was a big lesson when this happened to me. Well, I learned it years ago when I was hit by the truck, but when you resist pain, it only gets worse. It's
bingo.
It's just it's definitely just triggers it.
Yes.
It is just becomes unmanageable. So
yes,
I'm just reminded of when you're, for any woman who's had a child, it's like the breathing that you're taught to do. I mean, that's because that calms everything down. So it's a similar thing.
Well, you're such an inspiration, and your outlook on life has really, shown that pain and a good life are not mutually exclusive, the way you think about your pain and your life can really change it for the better or worse. And I hope everybody's inspired by your vision of yourself, and that you can still have a wonderful life, and still have those tools, that self efficacy and agency, that there's some stuff you can do. It's not just like feeling reliant on doctors, like you said. I want to just finish with one more question. As you mentioned that you've gone through a lot of physical therapy, rehab. I mean, you weren't sure if you could walk. Have you found the yoga for migraine practice to be physically accessible for you?
Most of it. There are a few postures that are difficult for me, but you offer modifications that, and also you reiterate that if you can't do it, chuck it. Which I appreciate, because I'm reminded that you don't have to do this. If you can't do it, it's okay.
Sure.
I'm very competitive. I had been athletic earlier on in my life, and a competitive swimmer. So I have this, that mindset is still alive. And, always want to push, thinking I can still do all these things, which I can't. But most of it I can, but there are a few things that are challenging. And I had to have a knee replacement because of damage that happened to the side I can't feel after the SCI. So that's there's certain ways I can't move it.
Yeah.
which
And
is,
you've asked me for tips, after class, and like you said, there's always an option. And if not, do something else that feels good.
yeah.
So what would you say to someone, who's thinking about joining Beyond Migraine, but they're just kind of worried that, this is going to be one more thing that they try that doesn't help? What would you say to someone like that?
Well, first of all, if that's the thought process, that it's another thing that's not going to help, I would say try to approach it with a more positive attitude, because that's 90% of the issue. Really,
Yes.
I know that might sound trite or cliche, but your mindset is a very large part of dealing with pain.
Yeah. And it's
There's
not to place blame on anyone who's in pain, but to really
No.
actually show, like, this actually this can improve, to give people hope that it's not just, there's nothing they can do. And I think, yoga, people see it as like just a physical exercise, but really the magic of yoga happens in your mind, and that belief that you can get better and that you can live the life that you want.
Yeah, no, definitely not placing any kind of blame. Look, I'm a person that has chronic pain of several varieties, but you have to learn to walk alongside it
Beautiful.
and live with it. It's there, so you accept it and then make peace with it, and then learn to find ways to ameliorate it. Make it less imposing on your life.
And that even just a little bit can really be worth it in your quality of life. I know you have deal with so much more than migraine, but for just looking at that migraine perspective, if you go from 15 migraine days a month to maybe 12, there's so much more days in the month that you're feeling good. You're not having those recovery days, the prodrome, the migraine hangover. So just like those little bits really do add up and make, even when you do have a migraine attack, feel less daunting, feel less, just like depressing and hopeless and your life sucks, that, okay, I have a migraine attack today. I know what I can do to make it better. I'm probably going to feel better tomorrow because I take that time to take care of myself and, still have a great life.
Exactly. And I think when you can keep up that self-care, it starts building
Yes.
and improving. And so maybe down the line, 6 months down the line, you have more days a month that are better. And
yes.
the headache, the episodes, the attacks become fewer and fewer, potentially. I know that's been my experiences last year. Again, maybe a combination of things, but definitely recognizing the importance of taking that time for yourself and having that control.
Yeah. And just kind of like any other preventive medication, yoga works best as a preventive. And yes, it can help relieve. Sometimes we get lucky, like Patricia mentioned over the weekend, I started out with an attack and rested and did my yoga, and I didn't need a pain medication. That doesn't work all the time for everyone, but that preventative aspect is really, is the gold of yoga, that over time with that consistent practice, it has to be consistent. It doesn't need to be an hour a day, 20 minutes a day can really start paying off exponentially over time. And unlike, medication, you're only going to get positive side effects from this. Most people's mental health improves, their sleep, they're just relaxed in their body, they're not feeling tight in their neck as much. Have you felt some of those, Patricia?
Exactly. As you're talking, I'm thinking so much of my attacks are brought on by a lot of tension that I hold here. And the trapezius and all through here. That's why those neck stretches feel so good and feel so important, because it's a way to break up a lot of that tension that I just was never doing before. There was no relief from it unless I'd go for the occasional massage, or you know, if I was in physical therapy for something else, they happened to, you know, stretch my neck.
Yeah, and it gives you the way to fix it yourself, you know. That's,
exactly.
Yeah.
And I love all those, the tractioning that you offer in the classes. That's really important. I have occipital neuralgia, and that is a wonderful tool also that I use a lot, because I had developed my own way of doing that on myself, just lying down in bed, you know, with my thumbs behind my skull there, but it's a lot more effective on the yoga block or the strap practice, and that was new for me and something I really value.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, Patricia, I'm just so inspired by you, and I hope others will be as well, that you know, you've come through so much, and you're still dealing with, this is not, you know, just all in the past, you know, every day you're still dealing with
No, I will be. It's lifelong.
Yeah, it's not your fault, and
I had to make friends with it.
Yeah, and you're, you know, you're just your attitude and your openness, and I feel like that's made all the difference in your ability to just have a really high quality of life. And I just hope that, you know, that resonates with other folks out there, not to give up, and yeah, to feel inspired that there's something that they can do to turn down the volume of their pain and live in less fear. So thank you for sharing your story.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you. And everyone else, thank you for joining me. Feel free to DM me if you want to learn more about Beyond Migraine and go through this similar transformation that Patricia's had, with just this beautiful, positive outlook on life, more tools to decrease your pain and live a life with more freedom. Thank you.